Hello, my name is Dilip Nainen. I'm the chair of the Tufts Philosophy Department. On behalf of the department, I'd like to welcome you all to our 2026 commencement ceremony. Before we begin the ceremony, I would like to ask that you turn off your cell phones. Also, given the confines of the space and for safety reasons, I'd like to request that you remain at your seats during the ceremony. A professional photographer will take photos of the ceremony. From your seats, you're welcome to take photos of your graduate as they come to the front. And the department faculty will be available after the ceremony for photographs. Thank you all in advance for your cooperation. And now, please rise and welcome the Dean of Academic Advising and Undergraduate Studies and the faculty from the Department of Philosophy. I'm now privileged to present to you the graduates of the class of 2026. Please be seated. I want to start by introducing the faculty of the Philosophy Department who are present here with us on stage today. We have Dr. Susan Rusinoff, Professor Jamie Elder, Professor Monica Kim, Professor David Denby, Professor Brian Epstein, Professor Lionel McPherson, and Professor Avner Baz. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Carmen Lowe, Dean of Academic Advising and Undergraduate Studies, to the stage.
On behalf of the faculty and deans of the School of Arts and Sciences and the School of Engineering, I'm delighted to welcome all of our guests joyfully assembled today to celebrate our graduates in philosophy. First, let me extend my congratulations to our graduates. You have made it. Here you are on this beautiful day at the pinnacle. Take a moment to savor it. Class of 2026, we are so proud of you. Proud of your academic achievements and fortitude, absolutely. But we are also so proud of you for taking care of each other, for supporting your local communities, and for showing so much compassion to your peers and to your professors and staff at Tufts during the difficulties we all went through together over the past few bumpy years. You have been extraordinary. So commencement is a ritual. That's why we're wearing funny costumes. A ritual of crossing a threshold from the past into the future, from student to alumnus or alumna. This is the most important part of commencement, pausing at the threshold for a moment to fully acknowledge the gratitude that you feel to the people who have helped you along this journey. Gratitude to all the people who have made it possible for you to know all that you know today with both your mind and your heart. As you cross the threshold into your future, I hope that you leave Tufts carrying within your heart a passion for learning, a desire to serve the greater good, the strong bond of friendship, and a genuine feeling of gratitude. Gratitude to the parents who read to you as a child and praised your accomplishments and taught you to aim high and made sure you did your homework. Gratitude to the grandparents who instilled within you the hope of a college education. Gratitude to the friends and siblings who gave you support, encouragement, and companionship on your best days and your worst days. Gratitude to teachers who challenged you to bring out internal resources you didn't even know you had. And gratitude to your parents. Did I mention your parents? Who helped you find the personal fortitude so you could complete your education. And let's admit it, they wrote the checks. Graduates, as you leave Tufts, may you always cultivate gratitude as a source of strength and light as you move forward for the rest of your life. And if I may speak for the faculty, we are truly grateful that we have had this opportunity to share with you these past few precious years, You have taught us so much. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'd like to start by welcoming the families and friends of today's graduating students. Thank you for taking the time to be here with us and for supporting your graduate. Also get comfortable because I'm trained to speak in 75-minute blocks. I also want to warmly congratulate the seniors and the MA students who are graduating today. Well done to all of you. You are at the end of a long road, and you have achieved something of genuine significance, a philosophy degree from Tufts. You are now philosophers. Actually, you've been philosophers for a while now. We just didn't tell you, but now it's official. We'll be handing out badges at the end of the ceremony. Your course of study has been rigorous and demanding. I hope it was also fun and interesting. But I do want to acknowledge that you did a hard thing, and you should take pride in that. Philosophy is not easy. Of course, the difficulty of philosophy is part of its appeal. And the difficulty of philosophy is connected to the nature of the questions that philosophy confronts. In your time as a philosophy student, you will have encountered profound questions. Questions about the fundamental nature of reality and what we can know about it. You will have thought about substantial moral and political issues, how one ought to act in various difficult situations, and how we ought to organize social and political life. Philosophy is also difficult because there's little consensus on how these important questions are to be pursued. Knowledge from many domains, science, mathematics, history, is often relevant to philosophical questions, but rarely settles them decisively. So what do we philosophers do? We read carefully what others have said about these matters, and we try to think as clearly and honestly as possible about them. Philosophy students develop formidable skills in argumentation. I'm sure many parents here can attest to that. I know it doesn't always make for a fun Thanksgiving, so I apologize for that. But one of the most valuable skills a philosophy degree imparts is a willingness and capacity to approach problems that, initially at least, one has no idea how to solve. The most difficult and interesting problems in life often have this feature. For these problems, there's no algorithm, there's no guidebook. But what is the point of confronting these questions and developing these skills in the first place? Some defenders of philosophy are keen to highlight the value of these skills in the marketplace. Philosophers argue well, think clearly, write persuasively, abilities that are valuable in a wide variety of professional avenues. Philosophers are said to make excellent lawyers, and just the other day I was reading an article about how leading AI companies are interested in hiring philosophy graduates. Some purist defenders of the humanities disparage attempts to justify them on these sorts of economic grounds, but I do not. Everyone has to make a living. And what is it to make a living other than to find a way to care for oneself and those that one loves? But of course, if one were pursuing a course of study for financial reasons alone, philosophy would not be the obvious choice. And it's surely not for financial gain that most students are drawn to philosophy. Students of philosophy are drawn to their subject matter because they are curious about the fundamental questions I mentioned earlier. They are sometimes drawn in by the style and mode of thinking one finds in the philosophy classroom. There is something compelling about the polemical energy that drives the best philosophical discussions. But studying a subject like philosophy has a further appeal, one which is difficult to articulate. In an essay called Freedom and the Intellectual Life, the contemporary philosopher Zena Hitz argues that philosophical study is valuable in part because it involves a withdrawal from the world, by which she means a withdrawal from contests over wealth, power, and status. In her view, philosophy provides something of a refuge from that world. Away from that world, one can find that part of oneself that cannot be measured by one's success in the market, one's title, one's social media following. And because you withdraw from that world to attend to things of real value, grappling honestly with difficult questions, this practice confers on you a dignity that cannot be taken from you. And this practice enables real communion between people, all equally ennobled by their willingness to withdraw and attend to things of value, even if only temporarily. Like any philosophical view about the value of philosophy, Hitz's picture can be challenged. I invite you philosophers to challenge it, if only to help you reflect on what you value in philosophy, what drew you to it, what role it plays in your life. Finally, to the parents and family members, thank you for allowing my colleagues and me to play a role in teaching and learning with your students. I think all of my colleagues on the stage here would agree that one of the great joys of working at Tufts is being able to teach such excellent students. Tufts philosophy students do the readings. They are very smart, they are engaged and curious, and we really do value them. You parents prepared them for this place and supported them along the way, and for this we are profoundly grateful to you. So please join me once again in congratulating the class of 2026. The department is now pleased to present the Helen Morris Cartwright Memorial Prize to two of our graduating students. The Cartwright Prize is awarded annually to students who've shown outstanding philosophical ability, both orally and in writing. The first prize will be presented by Professor Jamie Elder, the second by Professor Sigrun Svarvasdottir.
I'd like to invite Christy Park up to the stage. It is my great pleasure to introduce Christy Park. Christy transferred to Tufts from UC Berkeley in fall 2023 and has absolutely thrived. She has been on the dean's list every semester and is graduating summa cum laude with a double major in philosophy and cognitive and brain science. Christy's outstanding academic achievement and intellectual breadth have also been recognized during her election to Phi Beta Kappa. In addition, she's thrived as a researcher, being awarded highest honors on her senior thesis in cognitive and brain science. But all of these achievements don't fully capture just what makes Christy special, as we like to say,
qua philosopher. In my mind, what makes her so special is in particular the way that she weaves philosophy and how she approaches everything that she does. If philosophy is the love of truth, then Christy is among the truest philosophers out there. She engages in philosophy as an earnest seeker of truth, committed to both the value and significance of finding truth and to defending the value of earnestness in its pursuit. For example, in a class called How to Be a Bad Person, she wrote a paper on sarcasm as a vice, concluding that it's better to be bluntly mean than sarcastic, since the bluntly mean person at least makes the content of their criticism clear to the target and stands behind it. Christy took Intro to Philosophy with Professor Ian Blaustein in her first semester at Tufts and was immediately hooked. That class introduced her to questions that she found so compelling that she embarked on a path of pursuing research just so she could try to answer them. Since then, I've been lucky enough to have Christy in 4 classes, all of them at the intersection of philosophy and science and technology. She has been uniformly a joy to have in those classes. Her contributions to class discussion have been incisive and especially impressive in drawing connections beyond the immediate topic of discussion. Professor Blaustein told me that he retaught How to Be a Bad Person again this spring, and tells me that nearly every week, when reviewing his notes from the prior year, he found that he had specifically made a note of something that Christy had said or written on the topic of that week's discussion. And then by April, he was opening his notes, wondering what Christy had thought about that week, because he knew there was going to be something noted there. So this semester, students had her with them in spirit, even if they might not have been aware of it. Her written work is distinguished by its originality and by the distinctive voice she brings to a topic. Her arguments are clear and careful, all the while taking us in unexpected directions. Christy is a strong, independent thinker who is seriously engaged in answering the questions that drive her. She especially shines in applying philosophy across disciplines. She has that rare combination that as a philosopher of science I especially prize, a combination of rigorous scientific training and a knack for deep philosophical insight. And this was perhaps most evident to me in her final paper for my seminar class, Philosophy of Black Holes, which absolutely blew me away. It integrated an understanding of data-intensive methods, fundamental physics, and photography in order to make a strong philosophical argument that dealt on deep questions in the nature of scientific representation, how we represent the world. Now, looking forward, the same questions that drew Christy into philosophy in the first place continue to propel her towards research. She is, in fact, already functioning as a researcher, having acted as a lab manager at the Social Learning Hub at Boston University, and as a research assistant at labs at BU and at Tufts. She's also presented on this research at conferences. And philosophy continues to be intertwined with all of this, because for Christy, philosophy isn't just an academic exercise, it's in how she thinks, connects, and engages with the world. Working across fields fuels her creativity by allowing her to find unexpected connections and see things from different angles. Her background in philosophy of science allows her to think rigorously about scientific research and to better appreciate its intellectual significance. In the fall, she will be embarking on a PhD in human development with a research program that builds on both her scientific and philosophical training. I have absolutely no doubt that the philosophical questions she carries with her will lead somewhere worth watching. Congratulations, Christy. And now please welcome Professor Sigrun Svavarsdottir, who will be presenting our next winner.
I'm going to try to use my Icelandic accent rather than my English accent in introducing the next award winner. Safal Rahman Ariel, could you please come to the seat? Oh, okay. I introduce Safal with great pleasure. Majoring in philosophy as well as math, Safal has been a very active member of our department for the last 3 years. At the beginning of his sophomore year, he decided that he needed to supplement his formal studies in mathematics with, and I think I'm directly quoting him here, the stimulation of reading and writing philosophy. Lucky for us, he had been introduced to philosophy, classical philosophy, in his high school in China, where his parents were working at the time, but he is one of our international students coming from Nepal. Now, those who know Safal might not be surprised to hear that he didn't decide to take one philosophy course to test the waters and see whether our department was any good. He took 3 courses that fall and declared a major in philosophy, a second major. He was already a math major within 2 weeks. 2 of these courses were introductory level. I was lucky enough to be teaching one of them, reality and subjectivity, but he also took Professor Jyoti Asuni's epistemology with advanced undergraduates and graduate students. Ever since he has not bothered with the intro level courses, he just goes for the challenge. He thrives on challenges. And took quite a lot of 100-level courses, with one exception, a graduate seminar that he took from me this spring with a special permission. Safal has excelled in his philosophical studies and is indeed graduating with a very strong BA degree in philosophy. He studied epistemology, model theory, and philosophy of math with Professor Jyoti Asuni, Newton's Principia with the late and great George Smith. Safal thinks that this is actually the last time George taught his famous Newton course, and he's very glad that he had the opportunity to take it from the master. He also studied Kant and other things with Professor Avner Baz, history of analytic philosophy and metaphysics of modality with Professor David Denby, philosophy of language with Professor Dilip Ninian, metaphysics and the philosophy of the social sciences with Professor Brian Epstein, and metaethics with myself. Having taught him, as I said, in the first semester that he was taking philosophy courses, fall 23, and then again this fall in my advanced meta-ethics, and then in the graduate seminar that I permitted him to take in the spring, I can personally attest to his enormous gain in philosophical and intellectual sophistication during these 3 years. I can't speak for the other professors, but I suspect that they have delighted as much as myself in having him in their courses. From the beginning, it has been clear that Safal has an exuberant intelligence, unbridled passion for fundamental questions, foundational questions, and ample philosophical talent. His is a creative and expansive intelligence. He is bubbling with ideas, quick to see connections, analytically sharp, and extremely articulate. Admittedly, he can be a little bit quick, a bit glib, let's just admit that. However, one of the truly impressive things about Safal is that he has learned to counter that tendency without sacrificing originality and creativity, at least in his written work, okay? At Tufts, Sappho has cultivated the mental discipline needed to select from the many ideas that bubble up in his original and creative mind a particularly interesting and promising idea to develop in writing so as to add depth and substance to it. This stands to Sappho's ability to listen, understand, and accept challenges. His lack of defensiveness is remarkable, so is his independence of mind in working out his ideas more fully in response to criticism. In his work, I see intellectual passion, originality, penetrating intelligence, confidence, and epistemic humility meet in productive ways. And there's a lot of intellectual integrity here. I last saw this in his paper for my graduate seminar that I read just a week ago. Worried that his project had become unmanageably sprawling and overly ambitious, I was pleasantly surprised to read his seminar paper. In response to comments during his seminar presentation, Sappho had reined in his project, reconceived the aim of the paper, found an elegant argumentative structure for it, and beautifully executed the argument. It had to do with how Sharon Streets uses assumptions about the attitude of valuing in her account of values. And he argued that she had sort of a dilemma on her hands. Either it became thin to do the explanatory work that she wanted it to do, or it became too thick and then smuggled in premises that she didn't want to rely on. This was beautifully done and showed also just sort of his ability to see very clearly to the heart of the matter. This kind of writing is not something that just happens if you're intelligent and philosophically talented. This is the upshot of hard, honest, and dedicated work by someone who is first and foremost invested in the ideas that he's working out on paper. He's true to the ideas. This is Sappho, as I know him. I wish him all the best in his future endeavors. Am I supposed to give him something?
Will the faculty please rise? We shall now recognize the graduates from the Department of Philosophy for the second degree in Arts and Sciences, the degree of Master of Arts. Will the MA graduates please rise and come to the stage to receive the congratulations of the department and the assembled faculty?
Andrew Hubbs. Alexander Tresco. Paul Schneibel. Lena Horgan Thorstad. Brandon Ward. Alex Laval Leva. Oceana Ding. Shijan Zhu. Lucy Liu. Artur Bilu. Lily Lynn. Juan Morris. Brandon DeLucia. Evelyn Renee. Eric West. Gabriel Cameron Bazo.
We shall now recognize the graduates from the Department of Philosophy for the first degree in Arts and Sciences, the degree of Bachelor of Arts. Will the BA graduates please rise and come to the stage to receive the congratulations of the department?
Safal Raymond Ariel. James Urquhart. Peter Ree. Anna Jordan Fateh. Alexander Lang Volstead Peterson. Samuel Elliott Nissen. Piper Lang. Mariama Sar. Elijah Joseph Albert Stein. Ellie Rose Goldberg. Nicole Kintroglu, sorry. Nisa Aria. Sam Jokelson. Maya Catherine Lagasse. Shijin Lee. Louis Ewington. Antonia Ramirez Bernal. Tatiana Barcarcel. Luis Federico Suarez. Aiden Elaine Connors. Grace McLafferty. Christy Sangun Park.
Please join us in congratulating all of the graduates from the Department of Philosophy. I wanted to thank Joad Alcamus, our department administrator, for organizing this ceremony. And everyone else who has worked on preparing and running the ceremony. The ceremony is now concluded. Please remain seated until the faculty and graduates exit the auditorium. You will have the opportunity to meet with faculty and take pictures if you'd like to outside the auditorium. And there's also going to be a party later, and I hope to see all of you there.